Happy Monday to you. I'm Carl Azus. We're getting off the ground with a new week of news, and that ain't the only thing taking flight in today's show. We'll explain in just a couple minutes. First though, the U.S. government has released its monthly jobs report. It's one measure of how the economy as a whole is doing. The report that just came out is for the month of September, and it was a disappointment. Economists had expected that 479,000 jobs would have been added last month. The actual number was well below half that, according to the U.S. Labor Department. It was the second month in a row that the number of jobs added to the American economy was dramatically lower than what economists predicted, and no one knows exactly why the growth in this area has slowed down. Many economists point to continued concerns about the coronavirus pandemic and the Delta variant of the disease. That was reportedly twice as contagious as previous versions of it. But while new COVID cases hit a high point in late August and early September, they have been steadily decreasing since then. Critics of the government's stimulus programs say they were too generous, that they gave too much money to people who weren't working. States that opted out of those programs early did see their employment grow faster, according to government data. But the federal stimulus programs ended in early September, and still, many Americans haven't returned to work. Experts say other reasons for this could include problems finding childcare, workers considering changing their careers, and requirements that employees have a coronavirus vaccine, which some don't want to get. These could all be factors in why fewer jobs are being added. The unemployment rate, the percentage of American workers who don't have a job, that fell to 4.8% in September from 5.2% the month before. Those are the lowest unemployment rates since March of last year, and usually that would be good news. But economists say the unemployment rate only counts the workers who are actively looking for jobs. Many Americans are not, so they say that picture may not be as pretty as the number alone suggests. Overall, U.S. job growth in September was the lowest it's been all year.
President Joe Biden addressing a disappointing September jobs report.
Our recovery is moving forward, even in the face of a COVID pandemic.
The Labor Department said U.S. employers added just 194,000 jobs last month.
The economy is still very much dramatically being affected by the pandemic in different ways.
Public education jobs, local and state, fell during the back-to-school month. The leisure and hospitality industry added just 74,000 jobs, still struggling to recoup more than 1 million pandemic-forced losses.
People are less willing, I think, to work in jobs requiring close public contact.
The unemployment rate fell to 4.8%. Despite millions of job openings, the labor participation rate barely budged. Neil Richardson, chief economist at ADP, says that is a key number to watch.
Getting people back into the labor market, whatever the bottlenecks or reasons are, is going to be really important for a full recovery, not just in the unemployment rate, but an inclusive recovery that really reaches every vulnerable group.
Mark Hamrick, Washington Bureau Chief for Bankrate, says October may give a more accurate recovery snapshot.
We'll get well past the period when the federal pandemic unemployment benefits were expiring, and there may be some transitions in people's lives there.
Holiday seasonal hiring will also kick into high gear. The U.S. is still down 5 million jobs since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
10-second trivia. Where would you find the Orkney Islands? Northern Scotland, Western Ireland, west of Morocco, or east of Argentina? The Orkney Islands are located off the northern coast of the Scottish mainland. There are dozens of islands in the archipelago. Encyclopedia Britannica says about 20 of them are inhabited, and as it looks for new and cheaper ways to bring residents their mail here, the UK's Royal Mail Service is testing out drones. We're not talking about individual deliveries to individual homes. We're talking about an unmanned aerial vehicle, a small plane that flies without a pilot to an airport in one of the Orkney Islands, where a human postal worker would then get its cargo and deliver it to houses. The UAV could eventually take the job away from a human pilot, and some observers say industrial drones are more likely to malfunction than planes or mail trucks, so there are concerns about reliability, as well as what happens if a drone crashes and causes property damage. Here are some potential upsides.
There are 70 people that live on that island, and the drone is large enough to carry all the mail for that particular community. The UAV is capable of flying in all weathers, is less susceptible to tides and bad weather than conventional forms of transport. So we really see it as being a big quality of service benefit. It's also a lot more environmentally friendly than the conventional forms of transport. They are burning a lot less fuel than a conventional craft because all they've got to transport is the weight of the vehicle and the weight of the cargo that it carries. There are no passengers, there are no pilots to add extra weight, so it burns a fraction of the fuel that you would normally see a conventional aircraft taking. The Isles of Scilly is a distance off the Cornish mainland. It's too far for somebody to see with the naked eye, so it was the first beyond visual line of sight trial. It's the first time a parcel company had done that in the UK. It's a stepping stone to the North Ronaldsay trial, which we've done, which is a stepping stone to ultimately the business's ambition of serving an entire community via drone.
Brittany Walters is one of the ladies nominated to be homecoming queen at Forest County Agricultural High School in Mississippi. She didn't win the title, but thanks to a selfless act by another student named Nyla Covington, Brittany still took home the crown. Here is an exceptional story of how one student honored another as well as a mom who passed away.
All I could think about was my mom and how she wanted to be here. And then the next thing I know, Nyla walked towards me and she hugged me, and I just didn't really think anything of it. And then she started to take off her crown.
Forest County Agricultural High School's Homecoming 2021 will be a day many will never forget. After being named Homecoming Queen, senior Nyla Covington immediately decided to give her crown to Brittany Walters.
I told her it belonged to her, and then she was like backing away or whatever, and I was like, no, come here. Get it? You're your mom's queen. I want her to know that. And then I hugged her.
Nyla's kind and selfless act comes after Brittany lost her mother, A.J. Walters, to cancer that Friday morning.
My mom would have done the same thing if she was in Nyla's shoes. And I felt my mom's presence there, and I can see my mom through Nyla. They have the same exact caring and giving spirit, and it's really fulfilling.
It was an emotional and difficult day for Brittany and her family, but her mother never wanted her to miss this special day.
She realized that she may not be able to make it out here, but she made me promise her that I was going to come out here with Brittany because she didn't want to ruin her day, her homecoming day. She said that's something that she'll remember for the rest of her life.
And thanks to Nyla, homecoming night will always be remembered, and so will AJ, who was an administrative assistant at the high school and was very involved in her daughter's schools.
Her spirit is what made her special. Even on the hardest days, even battling cancer, she always had a smile on her face.
She's like the person that I want everybody to be like, honestly, because she just smiled.
She was a giving person. She tried to help every person she come in contact with, encourage them, compliment them.
I feel like this is her way of still touching people, because that's what she lived her whole life around, was trying to help and touch people, and this is her way of still doing it.
Brittany's father, Sean Walters, and Principal Will Wheat hope that AJ's kindness and Nyla's beautiful gesture will encourage others to also have a giving heart.
We hope that Nyla's selfless act will be a light for the rest of society. So we're very proud of her and her giving nature.
Obviously, she has great parents that raised her well, and it's hard to find sometimes nowadays, and it speaks a lot to them too.
So we certainly recognize Brittany, Nyla, the Walters family, and everyone else in their community of Brooklyn, Mississippi. And before we leave you today, we'd like to give a shout out to some of our viewers in Newark, Delaware. Thank you, Christiana High School, for requesting a mention on our YouTube channel. I'm Carl Azus. CNN 10 hopes to see you again tomorrow.